Hey everybody, my name is Jay Addison, and today I'm going to give you an overview of some of the functionality of Wirecast Pro from Telestream. Let's have a look at the interface to start with. You'll notice that there's two monitors here. On the left-hand side we have the preview monitor, and on the right-hand side we have the live monitor. So preview is where you set up your shot, and then when you hit that button it's going to send it out to the live monitor, which is what your studio audience is going to see, or your streaming media audience, or recorded to tape. Now there's a function built in called Auto Live, and I'm going to show you that I've got it built in. I've got it turned on right now. You'll notice down here everything is in layers, so the way that works is similar to Photoshop or Fireworks, if anybody's used any of those programs, where what is viewed is from the top down. So anytime you put something up here, it's going to be overlaid over the top of the signal. Now if I click on this one, you'll see it covers me up completely. And of course I've got these graphics behind me. I can go ahead and change these right here. Now I've got Auto Live feature turned on, and that's why it automatically switches. I really love the Auto Live feature. Let me turn it off and show you how it works. So once I've got Auto Live turned off and I click one of those buttons, it's only going to show up in my preview monitor. In order to change that, I have to hit that button right there to send to live. I've got it on smooth transition, but there's a whole pile of different transitions you can use. Let's go back and switch Auto Live back on. Okay, back to the interface here. You'll notice everything's built in layers, and if I scroll down here, let's go to the bottom. So the bottom layer, I've got that Bitcoin background, which I use all the time because everybody's familiar with the B and the zeros and ones if they're in the Bitcoin or crypto coin sector. And we can go ahead and add a new background very easily. I just move my mouse over this area here and I have 4 different icons. And the top icon is how I added my live shot in, the camera shot. The next one over is for bringing in an audio source. I might want to bring in some music in the background. In this case, I usually don't use music in the background of my news releases. The bottom left corner is an icon for Desktop Presenter, which is a function of Wirecast Pro. And that allows you to bring in a signal from another monitor. I might have a shot of the website from Torus Exchange on another site, on another monitor here where I want to bring that in. I would use Desktop Presenter to capture that, and then I would bring it in through this area right here. And the next one, of course, is for bringing in a video shot or a picture shot or a music shot as well. And let's go ahead and choose picture shot in this case. And let me go to backgrounds and just bring in a different background and just show you how that works. Okay, so let me select that here on the bottom, and of course with Auto Live on, it moves from the preview to the live window automatically. And you can see the size is not right. You can see that there's some space over here on the side. So let's just double click on that. And if I hold down the control on the keyboard and then I click my mouse button and hold that, I can move in and out. So I can actually change the size of that to fit the screen. And if I let go of the control button, I can actually click on that again with the mouse and move that back and forth or up and down or however I want to get it set up properly on the screen. Okay, let me just move that in a little bit more. And I'll click the red button in the top here to close that dialog box. And now I do have Auto Live on, but because I was editing that, it's not going to show up until I click it one more time. So I click that again, and it's going to come in full screen. So that's how you can go ahead and add different backgrounds. I can also add footage in there. If I wanted to have some live footage running behind me, that's very easy to do just through that same icon and adding video shot instead of adding a live or a picture shot. So let's go up to the next level here. And you can see I've got these different graphics here. Typically when I'm doing a news release, I've got a monitor behind me, and on that monitor I've got the script that I'm going to be reading. So I'm looking at the camera, I'm reading the script, and as I do so, I change this on the go. That's why I leave Auto Live on as well. It's just much easier. So as I'm talking about it, and I would start here and I would say, you know, in Canada we've got a brand new Bitcoin exchange called Torus Exchange. And let's have a look at the website here. So here's the Torus Exchange website. And that was started by Yuri Yerofeyev, which is a Vancouver entrepreneur and Bitcoin guru. And here is Yuri's picture right here. And then of course I would switch at the end of it to powered by Telestream by Telestream's Wirecast Pro. I can add a new one of those very easy. I could use the same technique, and I'll just show you how I do that. I could just say add picture shot again. And in this case, let's go back to here, and let's go in this folder here and in here. And let me just grab the Torus logo. And now if I choose that, you'll see it's way too big. And I could use the same technique I did before where I double click on that and I hold the control down and I shrink that down and I stick it up in the corner. And then I click that button. And now if I click on the frame again, it's my AutoLive is going to move it up there. But you can see if I move back and forth here, you can see it's too small. Now in order to get that the right size, the easiest way to do that, let me go ahead and delete this shot, and that's fairly easy as well by clicking this icon here. And you can't see it on the screen right now, but there's an option to delete the shot down below. Just going to click on that. Now the easiest way for me to put another graphic up there and match the size is to duplicate this shot. So when I click on that icon, I also, and you can't see this, but I also have an option to duplicate the shot here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And now you can see I've got powered by Telestream Wirecast in both windows. I'll go ahead now and I will double click on that. Actually, I'm not going to double click. I'm going to click on that icon again. This time I'm going to say change source. And I'm going to move down here, and you can't see it, but there's an option to choose add picture from disk at the bottom here. And now I'm going to go ahead and choose that Taurus logo from the dialog box. And you can see that it's in my preview window right now. It's not on the live window, but you can see it's exactly the same size. So if I go ahead and click that, it's now going to move over to the live window. So that's how you add a graphic so that it maintains exact size and position. It's easy enough just to duplicate that shot and then change the source file, and it will replace it in the exact spot that you want. So great function built in here. Let me change that back to my Bitcoin background. And you can see on the next row up here, which is the third row down, I've got my camera source. And let's go ahead and double click on that and bring myself up here. And I'm going to show you how the chroma keying works, because now I've got my audio here selected, so I need to select that source right there, which is my camera source, and you can see I've got it selected here now. And there's a number of things I can do. First of all, we have chroma key here with this icon. And chroma key works really, really incredible on Wirecast Pro. I got to say that I was using Boinx TV for a little while in the beginning, and it's a fun program for the Mac, and it's only $500. But chroma keying, the people in the studio here has probably spent 4 or 5 months trying to get the lighting right, to get the chroma key right, because if you've got too much lighting on your green screen, you're going to get a glow on your head. Now I shave my head so that it's actually easier to chroma key out than it would be if you had hair. But you end up getting a bit of a green glow, and it looks really strange. It looks like a bit of an alien. So when I started using Wirecast Pro, everything changed. I mean, I was actually shocked because you don't have to be as sensitive with your lighting at all. It just works amazing. And as you can see, I can turn that off, and you can see my green screen behind me right now. Now I just turn it on, it cuts it out automatically. You do have some other variables you can change here, but you don't even need to in most cases because it just works so well. Clicking that button just keys everything right out. So that's how you use the chroma key. Now, the other thing I can do with chroma key is, let me just switch that off again. You've got a cropping tool here. So I could actually go in here and let's say I take the right, and if I had something here I needed to chop out, I could go ahead and do that right here. So, but I got enough room here, I don't really have to worry about it. There's another function here, the second icon in, which allows me to move the signal around. So let's chroma key myself out again first of all. Let's go to that second icon, and now I can move myself anywhere I want on the screen. So it works the same as any of the other graphics. Anything that you bring in, you can go ahead and move it. And by the way, let me just move this over a little bit because you can see this actually changes on my preview monitor in real time, and that gives me a better indication of where it's going to be sitting on the screen. And also you want to make sure you don't have yourself too high up because you can see there's a blue gap down there at the bottom. So I'll move myself down and I'll move myself over. But I can actually use that control button and zoom myself in or out as well if I want to make myself small. And you need to do that when you're using some of the pre-built templates. But in this case, I don't have to worry about it. I can actually bring myself in. That probably looks good. I might shrink myself down a little bit more, so I got a little bit more of the gap at the top. And I move myself down, and that looks about good. So I'll go ahead and I will click the red button. Now I might be a bit of a different size here, so if I click on that again, yeah, you can see that I just moved myself over and it brought myself down a little bit. So that's a great function built in there. Chroma keying works just beautiful on this system. You can bring in more camera sources through here as well, so you can switch between people that are on different cameras. I'm gonna do some other videos for you to show you how to use some of the other functionality. But this one is basically just showing you what I do when I'm producing a video for Reuters Insider Financial Network for the Bitcoin or crypto coin sector. So now let's go ahead and add a graphic over top here. I'm going to add my name in there. So I can do that right here. Now what I need to do in this case, instead of selecting add picture shot, I'm going to say add new shot. Now I have a blank shot there. And by the way, you see there's a blank shot on the left-hand side of every one of these. You need to leave a blank shot on the left-hand side, because if I want to get rid of myself for a moment, I do that like just by clicking the blank shot. Or even these graphics, I want to remove them, I just click on the blank shot and they fade away. So anytime you want to change something, and I'll show you why it's really handy. In this case, I'm going to bring up my name. And as I do so, let me bring those graphics back up. As I do so, just like any broadcast, you're going to want to have your name fade in and fade out as I introduce myself. So now that I've got this added shot here, I'll just double click on that shot. And it brings up some pre-built templates and some virtual sets. I'm going to do some videos on the virtual sets another time for you and the templates, but for now I'm just going to click cancel. I'm going to click the plus button here to add a new source. And I'm going to click this T button here to bring up some pre-built templates for titling. I'll go down and I'll grab one that kind of looks good for this background and this whole video shot we're working on. And again, on the preview window here, you can see what it looks like. You can see the size and the positioning and everything, and obviously it's too high up right now, so I could go ahead and move that down into place. It says coming up, which we want to change, so let's go ahead and click on this T icon, the fourth icon in. I'll change that to my name. I may want to change the size. I'm on a Macintosh, so it's fairly easy to change your font. I'm going to scroll that up a little bit. And I will write down Crypto Biz Magazine, and let's go ahead and change the size of that one as well. Make that pretty big. That looks great. Now maybe there's too much blue underneath here, so let me go ahead and change that, and I can do that with the same cropping tool as I was using when I showed you the green screen. So let's just use the bottom there, and you can see I can bring it right up. If I only wanted my name there and a little bit of a stripe, I can use that as well. But let's just bring it down to about right there, where there's only a little bit of blue on the bottom. It looks pretty good, I think. I also, by the way, can hold that control key down. I can zoom that in and out if I want to make it smaller or bigger. So let's say I want it a little bit smaller, and move that over. And again, it shows up on the preview window while we're doing this, which is really helpful. And I think that looks pretty good. So let me go ahead and click the dialog box up top here, the red X, to get rid of that. Now let me click one more time, and that's going to bring it into the live window. So typically I would do my broadcast, I would start it out and I'd say, "Hi, this is Jay Addison for Crypto Biz Magazine. Today we're going to be talking about Torus Exchange, Canada's newest Bitcoin exchange." And then I just fade that off the screen. So I also might want to bring up a little graphic here, like a logo or something like that. I'll show you how to do that. In this case, I am going to say add new picture shot. And I'll go up here and I'll find the graphic that I want to use for this, which is right here. And if I click on that, you can see it's too huge, so let's double click on that. And let's use that control button again to bring that down to a size that we think will look good. And I can move this dialog box over so we can see that preview monitor better and make sure it fits properly. So that looks pretty good. Now the investment pitch color is the same color as the background, so it doesn't quite fit, but I'm just doing this to show you how to do it. So let's go ahead and click on that red X up there. And you can see it's still big on the live output screen. Let's go ahead and change that right now. Now typically you would have all these shots set up ahead of time. You wouldn't be doing this while you're doing your production. That's why it showed up large on the live screen. We wouldn't want that to happen. I would already have these set up before I start the broadcast, before I start the recording, and then as I start talking, everything's the right size. Now the one thing to remember right here is that you can't have two of these on at the same time. So you'll notice that if I change back to my name, it removes that logo graphic. So how you would do that is you would take this next layer down and use that for the logo, or yeah, the logo on the side here. Now, I could do that. I've just added some graphics here because once I'm done this broadcast, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you what hardware and the different hardware that I've used for this broadcast. And so I've actually done screen captures of all the different devices that I'm using so that I can show you what I'm using. So otherwise what I would do is I would just add that graphic over here, and then I could leave it on all the time, and then I could bring up my name and have it dissolve away, and the logos in the right hand side there would still stay on the screen. So now let's go to the graphics of the items that I'm using. And first of all, let's switch myself off the screen and those graphics to a blank shot, and let's get rid of that graphic as well. Now the reason I'm doing that is if I left myself on the screen and I bring up these graphics, and let's say I'm going to do sort of like a slideshow type of thing where I'm going to switch between different graphics. Well, if you notice on the live monitor, you can see myself between each of these shots. So in order to get rid of that picture of myself in the Bitcoin background, I would switch that to blank shot, switch this to blank shot, make sure that's on blank shot, then I'd go ahead and click that Blackmagic Design, and then as I switch, you see it just switches between. There's nothing in the background, okay? Let's go back to our hardware. So what we're using here in this studio, now we're in a studio in downtown Vancouver in Cole Harbour, and there's a number of other studio rooms in here, and some of these other rooms have got a lot more expensive equipment, but I can tell you this setup that we have running Wirecast Pro is definitely as good or better than some of the more expensive gear in some of the other studios here. I'm using Blackmagic's Design Ultra Studio Express, and it's got a breakout cable on here where I've got my audio hooked up, and you've got all kinds of different things you can hook up to that breakout cable. I'm running HDMI in off the camera, so it's really, really simple. And in this case, I'm running a Thunderbolt cable over to the Mac. I'm using a Mac Pro for this. By the way, this thing's also available for a PC, and it comes with a USB 3 port. So you can use Wirecast Pro on a Mac or a PC. And Wirecast Pro is also a 64-bit program, so you can actually use it on a MacBook Pro, and it still works fantastic because it's able to take advantage of all the RAM in your system. Whereas I mentioned earlier I was using Boinx TV and it was fun and everything else, but it's a 32-bit program, and it was just crashing on me all the time because I had so many graphics, I had so many things happening on the screen that it just couldn't handle it because it could only see, I think, 4 gigabytes of RAM in the system or something like that. So Wirecast Pro version 6 and above utilizes 64-bit, and that's really, really important. I'm using a DPA Series 4000 microphone, lapel mic, and if I just switch back to my shot here, you can see I've got that right here on my tie. That's the Series 4000. And I'm also using a Sony 4K camera. Now this is a prosumer camera. It's a Handycam, and the 4K camera is beautiful. It's got a really nice color to it. It's got a really sharp picture. I think this is somewhere in the area of $2,000. By the way, this Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Express is under $500. This DPA mic is also under $500, and again, this is about $2,000. By the way, if you wanted to get a cheaper camera, you can actually use the Logitech C920 HD cam, and it's only just over $100. So it's a lot of people on YouTube are using it. It really, really does look great. Because we're producing content for Reuters Insider Financial Network here, we want it to look that much better. We need to use a more professional camera, and this 4K camera really does work well and look great. I'm using a Mac Pro in the studio here with 64 gigabytes of RAM. Again, you could use a MacBook Pro, you could use a PC. You're not limited to your hardware. And if you go to Telestream's website at telestream.net, they've got a list of different hardware that's compatible with their system, and there's really a wide variety of hardware that you can use, capture devices. Blackmagic Design has actually got a whole variety of different ones, and there's other manufacturers out there that also have products that are compatible with Telestream's Wirecast Pro. I'm using a green screen behind myself. You saw the green screen when I was showing how the keying was working. This is made of a special cloth, but it's only just over $100 to buy it. This one is 10 foot by 20 foot, and again, it hangs from a rod, which is up at the top of the room here, just hanging down. When we first got this, somebody on the production crew came in with an iron, and they just ironed out the wrinkles because it comes folded up in a bag. They ironed out the wrinkles to make it look nice, and then what we did was we put some clips on the side here with elastics attached to it and screwed those into the wall. So there's probably one every couple feet down, and that pulls it tight. If you've got wrinkles or you've got inconsistency in the green screen, it's going to be a little bit harder to key out. But again, as I showed you earlier, if you're green screening and you just got yourself and your broadcasting, you only really need that area that just kind of covers you. So above you and beside you, and then you can key yourself out of the frame. So that's a very simple green screen solution. You don't need anything fancy. Now the lights that we're using were purchased from Canadian Studio on Amazon.com. You can also get them from a site called, or a company called Cowboy Studio. And these are 1600 watt, it's a 1600 watt video studio. The bulbs are 550K, or 5500K I should say, and there's 8 of them. But I think in our case here, we've really only got one of these things running, and it's about, I guess about 15 feet in front of me, and I think there's only 2 bulbs running right now. So it's back to that green screen thing that I was telling you. If you've got too much light, you're going to get a green glow on the back of your head. And so it's almost like, you know, we've learned the hardware here and bringing in all kinds of different lighting, trying to get it to work properly with Boinx TV, and then I put Wirecast Pro on here and laid 2 light bulbs, and it just works fantastic. It's just beautiful. So you really, when it comes to green screen, it's almost like the less light is better. Now the heart of this whole system, of course, is Telestream's Wirecast Pro. I just can't say enough about it. It just works fantastic. As I mentioned, I was using another solution in the beginning, and it just turned out to be a nightmare. It was really, really hard to work with because of the limitations in RAM and the ability to chroma key. It just didn't work that well. Wirecast is a fantastic program. It's used for lots of live events. As you can see on the screen here, they're using it for a football game. It's used for House of Worship. I'm using it here to produce content for Reuters Insider Financial Network, and you've got to have pretty good quality for Reuters Insider. Reuters is a huge news company. So Wirecast is really, like I said, the heart of the system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this screen up. When I finish this off, I'm going to have this as our ending screen and make it really easy for you to click that button and get a free trial of Wirecast or to learn more. I'm also going to put in the description down below a link to each one of these different products that we're using in the studio here, so that if you want to get those products or get more information on them, you can just click those links. And if you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and leave that in the comment section. If you have questions, I'll try and answer those questions for you. So let's just switch back to me for a moment here and put a Bitcoin background up there and put our Powered by Telestream Wirecast up there. And thanks for watching. It's been great taking the time to show you how to use Wirecast from Telestream. I love the program. Thank you.